Hello and welcome. I am Bigfoot, and today we are doing a quick, well, I say quick, it's not going to be that quick, a roundup of the first 6 episodes of my Let's Play series. Let's a go! Okay, so here is the map. So what I'm going to do now is pause the video and set up my time lapse because this could take a little while. And hopefully what will happen after the moment I cut, you'll see the opening shots of the time lapse and then I can get cracking on the base. Right, let's go. Okay, that took a lot longer than I expected it to take. It's been a few months since I set up one of these time lapses. I think I did the last one when I started the last 2000 SPM. It was a good 3 months ago now, and the start is always tricky. I always like to get it right, so it takes a little while. Anyway, so first up, coal. Obviously, I need to set up the burner miner drills with something, so I need something to put in the burner miner drill to start it off. Now, normally what I imagine most other people do is build a whole lot of burner miner drills, but I hate them. So this start is probably a little bit more laborious for me. What my goal is just to get to electric power as quickly as possible. So if I start building a whole lot of miner drills and wasting resources on those burner miner drills, then it slows my progress towards the electric drills. So yeah, probably got an hour or so of bashing before I get to anything useful where, well, I can start commenting on something interesting. Alright, so got some reasonable power going on, got some reasonable mines going on, got some reasonable smelting going on. Obviously all of it's needs my input at the moment. Nowhere near at the point where I can start building conveyor belts, but I'm at least producing stuff. You know, not bashing the ground with my fists anymore, which is nice. Okay, so I want to run the railway along this line, about where these steam furnaces are at the moment. So I'm going to I'm going to move these over here in the future, and I want to run a railway along here, and then that will act as the center line for the whole base. So that will be what I orientate the whole base around for the grand plan. But for that I need 2 railway lines and some other bits and pieces I'm going to put about around it. But I need that first so I can find out where these railways are going, and then I can start building the starter factory, which my mind at the moment is going to go here. Although if it needs to get bigger, it might squeeze up here and then over here. Oh, I knew it. I knew it. I knew you were coming for me. Oh, and I'm so far away. Come on, little man. Come on, little man. Oh, shit. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yep, yep, yep. I hear you. Where are we? We are 3 hours, 12 minutes in. Not really much has moved in the last couple of hours. Um, you, you might say that this is all slow, that I'm taking my time. I would say it's more patience. Like, this base is probably going to take me, I don't know, 150 hours, probably more. What is a few hours at the beginning, just tippy toeing, getting to the point where I want it to be. You know, an extra hour or two really isn't going to make a whole grand scheme of difference once I get to the end. Okay, pipes done, engine done. What else is on my list? Lights and power. So, just to give you a breakdown of my science in my starter factory, I do red, I do green, and then I also do black. I do black science because I want to be able to upgrade my weapons, so that, because at some point in time these weapons, they're not good enough. So I need black science as well. What has happened here then, hey? What has happened here? We've got some blocks mixing in somewhere. Where are the blocks coming from? Oh, there you are. Where? Was that it? I can only assume I've inadvertently put some stuff. Oh, there's another one here. Oh, okay. This is a... No, right. This is a problem. Right. Fine. What have I got? Oh, you little muppet. You fool. You fool. Okay, so I want to talk about water. Now, at the moment, this patch of water is the only patch of water I have knowledge of. Who knows where the other patches of water could be? Who knows? I might have nothing. So, for the purposes of my main factory, I'm going to assume that this is my only patch of water that I'm going to have access to. I'm going to use this to source all of the things that need water in my factory. That's the plan. And because I get stick in the comments about water fill, and also because I love using them, I think they're a lot of fun, my go-to solution is water barrels. So what I need to construct here is all of the water barrel stuff for my entire factory. That's what's going to go here. Okay, so I mean, I've been meaning to do a water barrel tutorial for quite some time, but you know, so many other things that I can do. But to give you some sort of basic rundown, I need to regulate the flow of barrels into the system. There's a critical number of barrels in the system. There's an optimum number. That's probably better. There's an optimal number of barrels in the system, and it's really difficult to know what that optimal number is. And I've tried many different ways of regulating the number of barrels in the system, and over many generations of changes, several different ways of doing things, this is the kind of setup that I've come up with. So the idea is that I know that this looks all convoluted, but it's to deliver the exact same number of barrels to each of these 8 chests, so that these are always going to be about the same level as each other. It doesn't always work out perfectly, but I try and that's the goal. That's what I'm trying to achieve. I'm also then trying to exit those barrels in a way that maintains that evenness as much as possible. So each of these assembly machines can output to both sides of the belt, so that doesn't work out. That doesn't cause imbalances further down the line, which is another problem that I've had. There's also, when there's too many barrels in these boxes, it jams up the input, and that can stop the water from being used at the other end. So I've also put in an output line. This is like an overflow line. So when these boxes get too full, there's too many barrels in these boxes, it outputs to this, which will go somewhere else to like what a barrel reservoir that get, so I need a big storage of barrel reservoirs that can accept this output and feed it back in when it needs it, because it needs to regulate that number of barrels in the system. So although I only need 8 assembly machines, I mean that's all I need to do 45 water barrels on a single blue belt. Yeah, I've ended up with just this ginormous setup, and it's got backstops to the backstops. I've tried so many different ways of doing it that I'm almost solving the problem 2 or 3 times over with this setup. And this is all going to get covered in circuit networks just to make sure. That's another lever I use to control the optimal number of barrels in the system. So this has got like 2 or 3 layers of backup, 2 or 3 layers of fuses to, where it can release pressure. But I'll go through it in much more detail in a tutorial, but that could be some time away. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that looks freaking awesome. Freaking awesome. It's just so symmetrical and perfect. There's no gaps. Oh, I love doing this stuff. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. I need 2 inputs, 1 output to each barrel. 2 inputs, 1 output. 2 inputs. Yeah, that's what I need. This is wrong. Okay. So each of these chests has 2 lanes for input. And that is because I need these chests to kind of limit the flow of barrels into the system. So the first input comes from the pure flow of the assembly machines that make the steel barrels in the first place. And that's what I'm about to build here. And these will only get picked up from the belts when the amount of barrels in the system is 0. And that's because all of the capacity in this system, I needed to accept the second flow, which is the overflow from this system. So the second input will pick up the overflow no matter what, and that is why I've been really careful about how I've arranged it so that all of the chests are loaded evenly, or at least as evenly as I can get it. So that it always picks up the overflow. It has to pick up the overflow all the time, no matter what. I only want to pick up the barrels from the pure flow, from the input, when the amount in the system is 0. So that's my kind of envelope for operation. I think it's probably worthwhile talking about my grand plan. So what I'm doing here is a sequel to a time lapse I've already done. So this is going to be racetrack number 2. Now, I had a kind of an idea to do a second racetrack, but I wasn't firm on it. But I figured, in terms of a design that I can go through, which might be a little bit interesting and different. There might be different things that I'm able to talk about, because it's not just a normal factory base. It's also going to be a racetrack. And also, the last racetrack I did was a lot of fun to build. I had a lot of fun doing that. So that's what this is. That's what my plan is. So that is the barrel loops done. Well, at least, well, I've just noticed that I haven't connected these up, but that's not the end of the world. I can do that in a minute. I think it's about right. Wow, so that is quite a laborious process. I'm not going to deny it. Um, if you're wondering what I was up to, well, I've got a second monitor, and on that monitor, I've got several folders open, particularly with this Let's Play, moving videos around and stuff. But I've also got one open for the time lapse, so that I can keep an eye on when the pictures are coming in, etc., etc. So just something I've always got open so that I can keep an eye on it. Particularly when I'm doing something like this, what I do is I construct a little bit of path, and then I wait to see the time-lapse shot come in, and then I construct another little bit of path, and then I wait for the next time-lapse to come in, and that way it creates this incremental building of the path. I mean, it's how I do all of this kind of thing with all of my time lapses. It's just a case of doing a little bit at a time, and then waiting for the time lapse shot to come in, and then doing the next bit. Um, Now I'm sure you're all wondering what it looks like. So I mean, I am too. So let's have a look at what that just looked like. See how it came out. Now I don't know about you, but I thought that was brilliant. I thought that's worked out really, really well. 7.5 seconds of pure joy. It's pretty cool how when you add stuff like this, add this curbing, it starts to actually begins to look like a proper racetrack. It's cool. Just little details, little details. So I've been sitting here thinking, and all right, okay, let's start at the beginning. Um, I'm not a big fan of SPM, or at least I wasn't. But since going down the journey of SPM, I'm now in a position where, well, if I'm going to aim for something, I may as well aim for that. So, um, because I'm a nerd, and I've done a tutorial about this. I have a spreadsheet. Here it is. And I've been playing around with the numbers in this spreadsheet, trying to work out what a perfect SPM might look like. You know, something that fits a nice number of belts, something that uses a nice number of assembly machines and furnaces. What does an elegant SPM look like in numbers terms? So what I've got on the screen here is the values for 234 SPM, which I know is not an elegant number in itself, but it kind of gives rise to an elegant number in the factory. So over on this side, this is what I've set up to work out how many trains I need to achieve that SPM. So in order to get the number of copper into the base to achieve that, I need eight six storage trains. So a train with six storage carts in it. Doesn't really matter about how many locomotives. I just want to interject here with a little post edit. What I mean by that is not that the amount of locomotives don't matter. They do matter, and you just need a number of them to get the job done. All I mean is that the number of locomotives don't make a difference to this spreadsheet. That's something you have to work out in game. That's not something that's in the spreadsheet. And then for iron, because obviously copper is critical, but iron is 7.4. So obviously I would just do the same again. I just bring eight storage carts, 8 trains worth of iron into the factory. Nope, no, that's definitely not right. Not right. This is going in the wrong direction. Nope, 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 nope. That was exactly what I was trying. That's exactly what I'm trying to avoid. This kind of Cloverfield pattern is exactly what I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to engineer a situation which is better than this. That's what I'm trying to do. How do I do that? That is a bit more like it, I think. I'm still not 100% sure. Okay, so this is going to seem like a bit of a rant. Not necessarily a rant, but it's going to veer off topic. Going to cover a lot of different things, but it's going to start off in a very simple premise. And that simple premise is that I need 4 more of these. There's 4 blocks here, 4 blocks of copper. I need another 4. Where am I going to put them? Now, my initial thought was to put them up here. I've already plumbed in the 4 belts here. They're the outputs. These are the 4 inputs. And here's my fuel. It's all here ready to go. I just need to put it there. But I think that was as a result of my standard way of thinking and designing these things. So because of the way I've been building the last few factories, my approach is just to build it in a linear fashion. So I just build one thing at a time, left to right, across the map, building all the things that I need. Everything operates in its own kind of horizontal slot. So these things have boundary lines where they can operate in, and if they extend upwards, then I'm not bothered by that. But then at those boundary lines, then the new process on the other side, and that's fixed. So the width is fixed, and then if something needs to be bigger, it will just go upwards. That's the standard approach that I've kind of tackled these things with before. I don't want to just jump straight into it. I don't want to just carry on the same path that I've taken before. I want to approach it differently. You know, I mean, I want this is a racetrack. As I said, I want it to be unusual. I want it to be lopsided. I don't want it to be a standard factory that I've built many times before. That's just a little bit smaller or bigger. I want to approach it in a different direction. So when I'm thinking about the grand scheme of these designs, I'm thinking about them in big blocks. So big chunks of factory, where are those big chunks going to go? And those big chunks are, well, the first one is this one that I'm already building, the one that we're already setting out, the one that I did the diagram of. That is fixed. That follows a linear path. I'm almost fixed by that. That's what I've set out the bus. You know, to be honest, I don't think I'll change that. That process I like a lot. The way that it's set out, the way it's positioned. The geometry always seems to work out quite elegantly, or at least I can get it to work out in a way that I'm happy with. So that element is fixed. I've planned it out. That's not going to change. But the other blocks would be, so we have what you probably call like the shopping mall. I would call the jumble. All of the bits and pieces that I need to construct to finish the base, assembly machines, conveyor belts, inserters, and the like. That's one big block on its own. I would also have steam power as a block. It's only a temporary block, because once I get to nuclear power, it will be shut down. I'm not going to dismantle it. I'm just going to leave it there. But I will need it at some point, so that needs to be included. I'll need a block for iron, not for iron, for oil. So where is my oil production going to go? Where are those trains going to feed it? Then there's going to be a block for science. Not necessarily a big block, and it probably would go quite close to the jumble, the shopping mall, but not necessarily directly attached to it. Maybe somewhere else. Don't know. I mean, that's a flexible item. The last one would be uranium power. So where is that going to go? Where is my plan for that? And then possibly, I mean, if you want to include it, stone as well, because stone needs trains to input the stone. I mean, so coal, I'm going to get the coal from the steam. So the coal, the delivery system for the coal into the station will be positioned next to where the steam power is going to go, and then it will feed the rest of the factory from there. So that's where I'm going to position the coal. The stone needs to go obviously somewhere near to the shopping mall jumble thing, but it's not necessarily. It is a little bit more flexible. I've got some play with it. So those are the main bits that I'm thinking about. I mean, I know I'm at early stages. I've barely even started the main factory, but this is the point where I'm starting to think about the positioning of those things. So, I mean, do I want to go? I suppose I should go for. I could go for my plan. So the plan at the moment. So this block is going to be iron, copper, steel, computer chips. It's going to occupy this kind of space. They'll all come across a bus. It'll be the bottom side as well. So the bus will be down here, and the bottom half will be exactly the same. The bus will come along. Then we'll have the shopping mall / jumble, and that will kind of go up the screen along the middle. We'll come down on that same line, and I think I'll put science there just below the jumble so that can feed either side, can feed the two together, they can be joined. Below that, the plan at the moment is to then put oil down at the bottom. If we carry along the centre line across here, I think I'm going to put uranium here. And then if we come up the centre line through the jumble's going to end. I think I'm going to have stone kind of over here, stone input, that is, from the railways, kind of one side or the other of the jumble. And then I'll have the centre line coming up, and I'll have a big steam set up with the coal in the middle, and then steam turbines outside of that. That's kind of the current geometry that I'm thinking about, I think. Obviously, I don't know how this is going to interact. I don't know where things are going to go. I don't know anything at the moment. So the point of all of this is, where are these copper 4 extra blocks that I need? Where am I going to put them? So just a quick bit about the philosophy of my trains. So I want all of the storage carts on all of the trains to feed all of the inputs. What I don't want to happen is for it to clump. I don't want one of these belts to fill up, stop the trains from emptying entirely, and therefore it doesn't fill up the rest of the belts because this train is stuck. I want, say, take this storage cart for example. I want this storage cart to fill up, or at least, you know, for that flow to flow through all of these 12 belts. Now, in order to achieve that, I need to bring this flow over to this side. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So I'm joining these two. I'm going to go through this in a second. Joining these two together with a splitter. So half of it goes to this belt, and then half of it goes all the way down over here onto the other side to the belt that's directly opposite it. And then the outputs of this one do the same. So this one joins up with this splitter, and then this one joins up with this splitter. This way, all of these carts are then on both sides. And then, I mean, at some point, I'm also going to fill these up with splitters just to mix things up a bit. I do know that people get particularly anal about these mixers, but for my purposes, as long as the ore is able to get from here to all of these 6, I don't really care about what proportion, as long as it can get there. Because then if one of these block up, say this one blocks up in the end, then it will move, it will concentrate that flow on all these other 5. So it kind of is a self-correcting, self-adjusting system. I'm not too fussed about these. I don't get too particularly anal about it. In the same way, I know this looks fairly regular, but if you actually look, these two chests are feeding this bottom belt, same with these two chests, and then these two chests are feeding the top belt, same as these two chests, and it alternates. So this one is the top one, this mixes on the bottom one, and this is on the top, and it's perfectly symmetrical. So this is only actually, so these are, say, a half of a input belt. These are two because it's right next to each other. This one feeds the bottom belt, and this half feeds the top. These two together feed the bottom. It's perfectly balanced so that both of these belts get loaded equally. Both of these belts then get shifted to this side of the bus and to this side of the bus, and then they all get evened out. So the theory is, as I said, to make sure that every storage cart has the possibility of loading every single one of these belts. That's the goal. And also I always try and make the numbers work out elegantly. I mean, this is another good reason why this 50% increase was nice. So I've got 12 belts out here, 6 on each side. I've also got six lanes on each side. So I can mix each one of these belts. Needs to come from one of these lines. So each one, so I'm stepping back. So this one is created from the top row. This second line is created from this second row. The third one will be created from the third row, etc., etc. Just in terms of equally balancing everything, it's a good system. I like it. That is the bottom half pretty much done now. Happy. I've done as much as I can. It's not finished. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, but there's a point at which I don't really know what things are finally going to look like. I mean, to give you an example, this roundabout that I had originally positioned so it was symmetrical around this kind of centre line ran right in the racetrack, so I've moved it over, and that's messed up my fuel line. Where I proposed to put it, because this is where I wanted to put it, and it can no longer go there. So I need to reposition this so it's up here somewhere maybe, and then it can get there. So I'm not finishing it off because I don't really know the final state of things currently. I'm just looking at this space that I've allotted for myself for the computer chips, and now what I need, I've got this standard block that I have for green chips. That block is 15 tiles wide, and I need 7 of them. And over here I've got 7 blocks for the copper. There's 7 of these. Each of these blocks is 18 wide. So because each one of these would be 3 tiles narrower than this one, there would need to be, if I arrange them in the same orientation with them going sideways, my standard block, then they would be narrower than this one, and there'd be big gaps between the individual blocks. Not to mention that this is again my standard approach with things, to go sideways, just keep going sideways. That can go wrong. So I'm just thinking about orientation. So 7 is obviously a very difficult number to arrange in an even way. Say it was 8, then I could start thinking about doing 2 rows of 4. But it's not 8, it's 7. So I've put these assembly machines up on the screen in this orientation to see how it would work out. If I did, say, one of these like this, and then another one on the other side at the back, in the same way, coming inwards, how much of a kind of a gap in the middle would I have between them? My thinking is, because I need 7 of these things, if I arrange them with 1 here, and then 5 along here, and then another one here, that's my 7, and then in the gap in the middle I can use to bring all of the materials in and out. That would be quite a cool setup. And then whatever gap I've got here I would need, because of these materials need to come in, come across and up or down depending on which unit it's feeding. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I like the idea as a whole. It's very appealing to me. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Another change of plans. So here we are. Here's the layout that I was planning. Obviously there's just a ginormous gap. I need 7 copper in, 7 iron in, and then 7 green chips out. And there's going to be huge gaps. I'm very, very not happy about the huge gaps. So, new plan. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to stay. You're going to stay there. I'm going to bring you 2 so that you're here. With this lane, I'm going to bring in whatever resources I can. Probably just the copper. And then over on this side, I'll have like a separate bus that comes down and brings everything else in, comes in. And then I'll use that same bus to bring in the resources that I need for red chips, which will then go here, where these green ones are, which are going to be taken down. So the red chips will go here. Well, the bus will go here. No, that's right. The bus will go here, feed here, and then I'll have red chips. Potentially even blue chips in the middle somewhere if I've got some space. Right, so I need to demolish this. I like this new setup immensely. This is very pleasing. I've got my 4, I've got my 7 blocks. I can now deal with all of my copper and my iron over this side. I'm going to bring my green chips through over. This is the racetrack, by the way. I'm going to bring the green chips over, and then I'm just going to feed that directly into the red and the blue chips without bringing it out into the bus and back in again. I mean, that's just brilliant. I can just bring the green chips through, up and down, and then whatever's left can come back down here into the bus. That's worked out. Oh, I'm chuffed, absolutely chuffed to bits. Brilliant. Right, okay, so let's plumb it in. That's what I need to do. So this is copper. I thought I would have enough space for all of this. It turns out I don't. And I've wasted some space earlier on in the process, so I don't know if you can see, but there's 2 lanes here that I need, because I can get these 2 lanes back, and the same again on the bottom. That's 4 more lanes. That would be enough to get it all in and out. Ah, it's my own fault. It's my own fault. Right, okay. I am well happy with that. Well happy. And that's with a capital A. This has worked out excellently. I'm really, really pleased. When I sat down with the numbers and worked it out, I looked at green chips and I was like, that's 7. It's going to be awkward. It's not going to work very well. I'm going to have to fudge it somehow. I'm going to have to figure some horrible way of solving it. But, oh. What I've come up with in the end is brilliant. I'm real happy. The fact that it's all going to come across here perfectly for my other chips, it's just like an elegance I didn't think I was going to be able to achieve with this one. Okay, so that's enough for today. Progress is still coming on. I'm really pleased with how it's going. I hope you're enjoying it. Till next time.